Good afternoon or good evening, radio fans. Big Al here on this Monday, or rather Tuesday, May 13th, 2025, and welcome back to part 2 of the Tampa Bay radio stations reissue. Part 1 featuring the AM stations is up now if you want to go ahead and check that out. We are now on part 2 where we'll be focusing on the FM radio stations in Tampa, St. Petersburg, as well as Sarasota and Lakeland. Before we begin, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell to get notified every time I go live. And let's continue with the May 2025 Tampa Bay radio stations reissue, this time with the FM stations. And we're going to start off with a dual frequency broadcast on both 88.1 channel 201 and 91.5 channel 218. You have WJIS Bradenton on 88.1 channel 201 and WCIE Newport Richey on 91.5 channel 218. Both stations broadcast in high definition, and they are both branded as the Joy FM. On the FM analog signals on both stations and on HD1 is contemporary Christian music. On HD2 on both stations is Joy Worship, which is Christian worship music. And on HD3 on both stations is LF Radio, which is Christian hip hop as they listed on Wikipedia, but it's more like a Christian pop station. WJIS Bradenton signed on the air in 1986, while WCIE in Newport Richey signed on around November 16th, 1983, originally as WLPJ. The station would become WJCY and then back to WLPJ in 1996, and then WCIE in 2009. WJIS Bradenton on 88.1 channel 201 has a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. While WCIE Newport Richey on 91.5 channel 218 operates with a Class C0 license at 75,000 watts. Studios for WJIS are located at 6469 Parkland Drive in Sarasota, while WCIE's studios are at 6214 Springer Drive in Port Richey, Florida. The WJIS transmitter is located off Vistera Boulevard in Venice, while the WCIE transmitter is located at the end of Atlantis Drive near the tower of WXTV, which is in Holiday, Florida. Both stations are owned by the Radio Training Network. Meanwhile, WJIS's programming is simulcast on WWRZ 98.3 FM HD3 in Fort Meade, Florida, and relays translator stations W240DB 95.9 FM Auburndale and W242AK 96.3 FM Lakeland. Meanwhile, translator stations W291AG 106.1 FM Highland City and W300CY 107.9 FM in Lake Wells also relays the programming from WJIS. WJIS's programming is also relayed on translator station W208AR 89.5 FM in Lake Placid, Florida. Meanwhile, WCIE's programming is relayed on translator stations W220EK 91.9 FM, Oldsmar, Florida, and W229BM 93.7 FM in Riverview, Florida. That's the city where many of the major television stations in Tampa Bay have their transmitters. 88.5 Channel 203 broadcasting in high definition is WMNF Tampa. Known as WMNF, listener-supported community radio. On the FM analog signal and on HD1 is eclectic music and talk programming. HD2 is the Urban Cafe, which is a community radio station. On HD3 is a news talk station dubbed as The Source. And on HD4 is New Sounds featuring indie music. The station signed on the air on September 14th, 1979. They have a Class C1 license broadcasting at 6,650 watts. Studios are located at 1210 East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Tampa, while the transmitter is at 13623 Rodine Road in Riverview. WMNF is owned by the Nathan B. Stubblefield Foundation. 88.9 Channel 205 is WYFE Tarpon Springs. Known on air as BBN Radio, featuring a religious format. So that's pretty much religious talk and teaching programs and some traditional Christian music. That's what they play on BBN. And they are affiliated with the Bible Broadcasting Network. WYFE signed on as WFCE on July 21st, 1987, and became WYFE in 1991. That was when BBN purchased the station. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 60,000 watts. Programming originates from the Bible Broadcasting Network headquarters at 11530 Carmel Commons Boulevard in Charlotte. That's Charlotte, North Carolina. The transmitter is off of Arcola Avenue and 1st Street North in Gulf Coast Acres. Easy for me to say. WYFE is owned by the Bible Broadcasting Network, and programming is relayed on translator stations W247AF 97.3 FM Sarasota and W265BJ 100.9 FM in Crystal River. Next up on 89.1 Channel 206 is WSMR Sarasota. Known on air as Classical WSMR, of course featuring a classical music format. The station signed on the air on February 4th, 1993 as WAYG and became WSMR in 1996. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 54,000 watts. The studios for WSMR are located on the campus of the University of South Florida at 4202 East Fowler Avenue, room WRB 101 in Tampa. The transmitter is located off Miami Trail near Florida State Route 681 in Nokomis, Florida. WSMR is owned by the University of South Florida. We will be talking about the flagship station WUSF right after we talk about 89.3 Channel 207. And that's WFLJ Frostproof, also part of the Joy FM, featuring contemporary Christian music. The station signed on the air as WFAL on June 11th, 2009 and became WFLJ shortly thereafter on June 24th of that year. They have a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 10,000 watts. Studios are located at 6469 Parkland Drive in Sarasota, while the transmitter is off of South Memorial Drive in Avon Park. WFLJ is owned by Radio Training Network. Up next is 89.7 Channel 209, broadcasting in high definition, and that's WUSF Tampa. They're branded as WUSF News. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Public Radio News and Talk. And HD2 is the classical music simulcast of 89.1 WSMR out of Sarasota. WUSF has affiliations with NPR, National Public Radio, American Public Media, Public Radio Exchange, and the BBC World Service. The station signed on the air in September of 1963. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 69,000 watts. Their studios are on the University of South Florida campus at 4202 East Fowler Avenue, room WRB 101 in Tampa. The transmitter is in Riverview off Boyette Road. WUSF is owned by the University of South Florida, judging by the station's call letters. Translator station W280DW 103.9 FM Tampa relays the classical music format heard on HD2. 90.3 Channel 212 is WLVF FM Haines City, also broadcasting in high definition. They're known as Gospel 90.3. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 as well as HD3 is Southern Gospel Music, and the HD3 subchannel is a delayed simulcast of the main HD1 signal. On HD2 is a station known simply as Radio Landmark. I'm not sure what the format is there, but I'm pretty sure it's probably Southern Gospel as well. WLVF signed on the air as WHGS on April 11, 1986, and became WLVF FM in 1990. They have a Class A license with the FCC, broadcasting at 750 watts. Studios are located on the grounds of the Landmark Baptist Church at 810 East Henson Avenue in Haines City. The transmitter is located off of North 12th Street, also in Haines City. WLVF FM is owned by Landmark Baptist Church and licensed by Landmark Baptist Church Incorporated. 90.5 Channel 213, broadcasting in high definition, is WBVM Tampa, known as Spirit FM 90.5. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Christian Adult Contemporary. On HD2 is The Light, which is a Christian format. And on HD3 is El Fuego, which plays Spanish contemporary Christian music. WBVM signed on the air on May 26, 1986. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at the maximum 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 717 South Del Mabry Highway in Tampa. The transmitter is off of Boyette Road in Riverview. WBVM is owned by the Roman Catholic Diocese of St. Petersburg and licensed by the Bishop of the Diocese of St. Petersburg. Next up on 91.1 Channel 216 is WKES Lakeland, known as Moody Radio Florida. featuring a Christian talk and teaching format from Moody Radio. The station signed on the air as WCIE on May 20th, 1975 and became WKES when Moody Radio purchased the station in 1997. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at Keswick Christian School at 10101 54th Avenue North in St. Petersburg, and their transmitter is also located in Riverview off Boyette Road. WKES is owned by the Moody Bible Institute and licensed by the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago. Programming is relayed on translator stations K215CJ 90.9 FM Tampa, W247 AF 97.3 FM Sarasota, and W272BM 102.3 FM Fort Myers Beach. That's in the Fort Myers, Naples area. 91.3 Channel 217 is WSEB Inglewood, known as WSEB-FM 91.3, featuring Christian talk and teaching plus Southern gospel music. The station signed on the air in May of 1989. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 62,000 watts horizontal, 60,000 watts vertical. Studios are located at 135 West Dearborn Street in Englewood. The transmitter is located in the Amberjack Environmental Park in Cape Hayes. WSEB is owned by Suncoast Educational Broadcasting Corporation. That's how they got the call letters WSEB. The final station on the traditional non-commercial band is 91.9 Channel 220, WYFO Lakeland. This is the Tampa Bay affiliate of BBN Radio, featuring a religious format, affiliated with the Bible Broadcasting Network. This station signed on the air as WHAN on April 1st, 1987, and then in June of that year they became WWOL, and then BBN purchased the station and changed its call sign to the current WYFO in 1989. They have a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 25,000 watts. Programming originates from BBN's headquarters at 11530 Carmel Commons Boulevard in Charlotte, North Carolina. The transmitter is in Highland City, off of DeWitt Drive near Highlands Creek Drive. WYFO is owned by the Bible Broadcasting Network. Moving on to the commercial band on FM, we begin with 92.1 Channel 221, broadcasting in high definition, and that's WCTQ Venice, known as 92.1 CTQ. On the FM analog signal and on HD1 is Classic Country. HD2 is an exclusive channel on the iHeartRadio app entitled Hit Radio, which is Top 40 CHR. WCTQ signed on the air on March 1st, 1974 as WAMR FM. They would undergo 6 call sign changes with 5 sets of call letters and became WCTQ in 2016. And this is actually the 3rd run for the station as WCTQ. They originated these call letters in 1987, and then the second run was much longer from 1987 to 1999. And as I alluded to, it returned to the WCTQ call letters in 2016. They have a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 11,500 watts. From studios located at 1680 Fruitville Road, Suite 401 in Sarasota. The transmitter is off of Miami Trail and FL 681 in Laurel. WCTQ is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses, LLC. Programming is simulcast on WBTP 106.5 FM HD2 Sarasota and relayed on translator station W276CR 103.1 FM Bradenton. 92.5 Channel 223, broadcasting in high definition, is WYUU Safety Harbor, known as Maximum FM. Tu música al máximo. On the FM analog signal and on HD1 is Latin Pop, and on HD2 is Playa 106.9, featuring Spanish tropical music. WYUU signed on the air as WXCR in October of 1983 and became WYUU in 1989. The station identified as WOOT as its call sign during the station's construction permit, but was never used on the air. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 50,000 watts. Studios are located at 9721 Executive Center Drive North, number 200 in St. Pete. The transmitter, I didn't write down the transmitter of this station, so sorry about that. I can tell you they are owned by the Beasley Broadcast Group. I left a lot of information out on this. My apologies. Translator stations W276CX 103.1 FM Newport Richey and W295CF 106.9 FM Clearwater relays the Spanish tropical format of Playa 106.9 on HD2. 93.3 Channel 227, broadcasting in high definition, is WFLZ FM, Tampa. 93.3 FLZ, Tampa Bay's #1 hit music channel. On the main FM and analog signal and on HD1 is Top 40 CHR. While on HD2 is Pride Radio, featuring a dance and EDM format aimed at the LGBTQ+ community. WFLZ has affiliations with Premier Networks. And this is one of the oldest FM signals in Tampa, signing on the air in 1948 as WFLA FM. This would be the complement of 970 AM. They would undergo 3 call sign changes with 3 sets of call letters, including the aforementioned WFLA FM. Its first run was from 1948 to 1981, and then their second run was from 1984 to 1985. The station officially became WFLZ FM in 1987. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at 97,000 watts analog and 3,860 watts digital. Studios are located at 13577 Feather Sound Drive, number 6 in Clearwater, while the transmitter is at 13623 Rodine Road in Riverview, Florida. WFLZ FM, or 93.3 FLZ, is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses, LLC. Next up is 94.1 Channel 231, also broadcasting in high definition, and that is WLLD Lakeland. Wild 94.1, the Bay's Party Station. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Rhythmic CHR, which is pretty much hip hop. That's what it is. And there are no additional subchannels. WLLD signed on the air on August 29th, 1965 as WVFM. They would become WEZY in 1988, WSJT in 1995, and then they would become the present day WLLD in 2009. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 9721 Executive Center Drive North, number 200 in St. Petersburg, while the transmitter is located off of Taylor Road in Fort Lonesome, Florida. WLLD, Wild 94.1, the Bay's Party Station, is owned by Beasley Broadcast Group and licensed by Beasley Media Group Licenses, LLC. 94.9 Channel 235, broadcasting in high definition, is WWRM Tampa. Magic 94.9. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Hot Adult Contemporary. On HD2 is 97X, which is alternative rock. The station signed on the air as WLCY FM on September 1st, 1970. They would become WYNF in 1978. They would add the FM suffix in 1981, and then would become what is now WWRM in 1993. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at the maximum 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 1300 4th Street North, number 300 in St. Petersburg. Their transmitter is at 13623 Rodine Road in Riverview. Magic 94.9 is owned by Cox Media Group and licensed by Cox Radio, LLC. 95.7 Channel 239, broadcasting in high definition, is WRUB Clearwater. Rumba 95.7. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is a mix of Spanish CHR, Latin pop, reggaeton, and tropical music. On HD2 is the Black Information Network, which is an all-news radio station aimed at the African American community. And on HD3 is the sports simulcast of WDAE 620 AM, which features Tampa Bay Rays baseball. WRUB has affiliations with Premier Networks. The station signed on the air on August 19, 1963 as WTAN FM, and they had an identity crisis. They would undergo 7 call sign changes with 7 sets of call letters and became WRUB just last year in 2024 as the station and their Spanish CHR format would move from 106.5 in Sarasota to 95.7 in Clearwater on July 17th of 2024. And they would swap call signs with WBTP on July 29th. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Their studios are located at 13577 Feather Sound Drive, number 600 in Clearwater, while the transmitter is in St. Petersburg on Gandhi Boulevard North. Rumba 95.7 is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses, LLC. Translator station W244BE 96.7 FM Brandon relays the sports format of WDAE on WRUB HD3. 96.1 Channel 241 is WTMP FM Dade City, La Invasora 96. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is regional Mexican music. And on HD2 is the Spanish variety simulcast of WQBN Super Q 1300. And this is the Spanish flagship station of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you'll hear all Bucs games in Spanish on La Invasora 96. The station signed on the air as WBSB on September 3rd, 1993 and became WTMP-FM in 2001. They have a Class A license with the FCC, broadcasting at 2,800 watts. Studios are located at 2005 Pan Am Circle in Tampa, while the transmitter is in Spring Lake, Florida off of Spike Road. Yes, there is such a thing as a Spike Road. WTMP-FM is owned by Vallejo Productions and licensed by NIA Broadcasting Incorporated. 97.1 Channel 246, broadcasting in high definition, is WSUN Holiday. El Nuevo Sol 97.1. And this is pretty much a competing station to Rumba 95.7. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Spanish CHR, Latin pop, reggaeton, and tropical music. HD2 is a regional Mexican station known as La Pravida. WSUN signed on the air as WHBS on September 1st, 1978 at 106.3 FM. The station would undergo 4 call sign changes with 4 sets of call letters and became WSUN FM in 1988 while dropping the FM suffix in 2016. The station officially moved to 97.1 in 1998. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 11,500 watts. Studios are located at 3901 Coconut Palm Drive in Tampa, with the transmitter located near the station we'll be talking about soon, and that's WXTB, located at the end of Atlantis Drive in Holiday, Florida. WSUN, previously owned by Cox Media Group and the former home of 97X, is now owned by the Spanish Broadcasting System and is licensed by WSUN Licensing Incorporated. Alright, WXTB is coming up where we have this station next, and that's 97.5 Channel 248, WPCV Winter Garden, or rather Winter Haven. 97.5 WPCV, your hometown country station. Judging by that brand, it is a country music station. Signing on the air as WINT-FM on February 7, 1963. They would become WXKL in 1967, WHFL in 1972, and WPCV in 1975. They have a Class C0 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. So this station can be heard in the far eastern portion of the Tampa Bay market all the way to Orlando. That's how powerful their signal is. Studios are located at 404 West Lime Street in Lakeland, with the transmitter located off Cypress Parkway in Haines City. WPCV is owned by Hall Communications Incorporated. Up next, 97.9 Channel 250, broadcasting in high definition, and that's WXTB Clearwater. 98 Rock, Tampa Bay's rock station. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Active Rock. On HD2 is the News Talk simulcast of News Radio 970 WFLA. WXTB has affiliations with iHeartRadio, Compass Media Networks, Premier Networks, and Premium Choice. 98 Rock is also the official flagship radio home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The station signed on the air as WQXM in December 1967. They would become WZNE in 1983, WKRL in 1986, and WXTB in 1990. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at the maximum 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 13577 Feather Sound Drive, number 6 in Clearwater. The transmitter is located in the 1400 block of Atlantis Drive in Holiday, Florida. 97.9 WXTB or 98 Rock is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses LLC. Translator stations W233AV 94.5 FM Gulfport and W256CT 99.1 FM Bayonet Point relays the news talk format of WFLA on WXTB HD2. 98.3 Channel 252, broadcasting in high definition, is WWRZ Fort Meade, max at 98.3. On the main FM analog signal and HD1 is Adult Hits, so this is kind of like a Jack FM station of some sort. Their other 3 subchannels are simulcast of their sister stations. On HD2 is the sports simulcast of WONN 1230 Fox Sports Lakeland. On HD3 is Christian AC. This is the simulcast of the Joy FM from WJIS. And on HD4 is a talk format, and this is the simulcast of WLKF. WWRZ signed on the air as WSCF in 1990. They would undergo 3 call sign changes with 3 sets of call letters and became WWRZ in 1996. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 27,000 watts. Studios are located at 404 West Lime Street in Lakeland, while the transmitter is off of Agricola Road in Bartow. WWRZ is owned by Hall Communications. Translator station W296CS 107.1 FM Lakeland relays the sports format on HD2. Translator stations W240DB 95.9 FM Auburndale, W242AK 96.3 FM Lakeland, W291AG 106.1 FM Highland City, and W300DY 107.9 FM Lake Wales. All relays the Joy FM simulcast heard on HD3. And translator station W244BJ 96.7 FM Lakeland relays the talk radio simulcast of WLKF on HD4. 98.7 Channel 254, broadcasting in high definition, is WPBB Home Speech. 98.7 The Shark, Tampa Bay's classic rock. On the main FM with no additional subchannels. The station signed on the air as WAYP in 1989 and underwent 6 call sign changes with six sets of call letters, sorry about that, and became WPBB in 2017 with its current classic rock format. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 47,000 watts. Their studios are located at 9721 Executive Center Drive North, number 200. And their transmitter is off of San Martin Boulevard Northeast, both located separately in St. Petersburg. WPBB 98.7 The Shark is owned by Beasley Broadcast Group and licensed by Beasley Broadcast Group Licenses LLC. 99.5 Channel 258 broadcasting in high definition is a sister station to 98.7 The Shark, and that's WQYK-FM St. Petersburg. 99.5 QYK. And this is one of the highest rated radio stations in the Tampa Bay market. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is country music. On HD2 is also country music, dubbed as New Tune Country. WQIK-FM signed on the air in 1958 as WTCX and officially became WQYK-FM in 1972. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 9721 Executive Center Drive, number 200 in St. Pete, while the transmitter is located off of US 19 and 17th Avenue South in Tampa. 99.5 WQYK is owned by Beasley Broadcast Group and licensed by Beasley Media Group Licenses LLC. 99.9 Channel 260 is a station located north of Tampa Bay, and that's WXJB, Homosassa, Florida. News and Talk 99.9 WXJB, the news and talk of the Nature Code. This station features a news talk format affiliated with Fox Sports Radio, Premier Networks, Compass Media Networks, and Westwood One. The station signed on the air officially as WXJB on July 21st, 2010, so they haven't been on the air that long. They did use WICE and WWHF during their construction permit. Neither call sign was used on the air. They have a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 9,200 watts. Studios are located at 55 West Fort Dell Avenue in Brooksville, Florida. Their mailing address is 5. The transmitter is off of Ponce de Leon Boulevard or US 98 in Sugar Mill Woods. WXJB is owned by Hernando Broadcasting Company Incorporated and licensed 100.7 Channel 264, broadcasting in high definition, is WMTX Tampa, Mix 100.7. On the main FM, positive if this station switches to Christmas music during the holidays, but I'm pretty sure they are. I did not write that down in my notes. HD2 is the business news and talk simulcast of 1250 WHNZ. And on HD3 is Retro, which is bilingual classic hits. This is a station iHeartRadio launched not too long ago on their app. WMTX is affiliated with Premier Networks. The station signed on the air as WDAE-FM in November 1947, so I think this is the oldest FM signal in Tampa, if not one of the oldest. They would undergo 7 call sign changes with 7 sets of call letters and became WMTX in 1989. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at 96,000 watts. Studios are located at 13577 Feather Sound Drive, number 6 in Clearwater, while the transmitter is at 13623 Rodine Road in Riverview. WMTX Mix 100.7 is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses LLC. Up next is 101.5 Channel 268, broadcasting in high definition, WTBV St. Petersburg. 101.5 The Vibe, Tampa Bay's only R&B. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Urban Adult Contemporary, and on HD2 is Alternative Rock, known as 97X, which was previously at 97.1. WTBV signed on the air as WGNB on July 1st, 1961. They would undergo 4 call sign changes with 4 sets of call letters and became WTBV with its current Urban AC format in 2023. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at the maximum 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 1300 4th Street North, number 300 in St. Petersburg. Their transmitter is also at 13623 Rodine Road in Riverview. 101.5 The Vibe is owned by Cox Media Group and licensed by Cox Radio LLC. Translator station W248CA 97.5 St. Petersburg relays the alternative rock format on HD2. Up next, 102.5 Channel 273, broadcasting in high definition, and that's WHPT Sarasota. 102.5 The Bone, Real Raw Radio. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Hot Talk. On HD2 is a Tampa Bay Lightning centered sports format. And this is the flagship radio home of the Tampa Bay Lightning, as well as South Florida Bulls football, plus men's and women's basketball. WHPT signed on the air on November 15th, 1960 as WYAK. They would undergo 5 call sign changes with 5 sets of call letters and then became WHPT in 1991. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at the maximum 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 1300 4th Street North, number 300 in St. Pete, while the transmitter is located off of 283rd Street East near Gopher Hill Road in Myakka City, Florida. That's Myakka, Myakka City. WHPT 102.5 The Bone is owned by Cox Media Group and licensed by Cox Radio LLC. Programming is simulcast on sister station WXGL 107.3 FM HD2 in St. Petersburg. Jumping ahead to 103.5 Channel 278, broadcasting in high definition, is WFUS Gulfport, US 103.5, Tampa Bay's new country leader. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is country music. On HD2 is the classic hip-hop simulcast of 106.5, 102.9 The Beat WBTP, which we will be talking about in full in just a few moments. WFUS signed on the air in November 1963 as WBRD-FM at 103.3 FM, which at the time was licensed to Bradenton, Florida. The station became WDUV in 1973, WTBT in 1999, and WFUS in 2005. The station would move to 103.5 in 1997. They have a Class C0 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 68,000 watts. Studios are located at 13577 Feather Sound Drive, number 6 in Clearwater. Their transmitter is at 13623 Rodine Road in Riverview. WFUS, or US 1035, is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses, LLC. Translator station W275AZ 1029 FM, Tampa, relays the classic hip-hop format on HD2. 104.3 Channel 282 is WKZM Sarasota, branded as Moody Radio Florida, with a Christian talk and teaching format. The first official sign-on is July 2nd, 2013. That was when WKZM received its license from the Federal Communications Commission. They are a Class C3 station broadcasting at 25,000 watts. Programming originates from the headquarters of the Moody Bible Institute at 820 North LaSalle Drive in Chicago, Illinois. The station's transmitter is at 5350 McIntosh Road in Sarasota. WKZM is owned by Moody Bible Institute and licensed by the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago. And this station also simulcasts programming from WKES 91.1 FM Lakeland, WHGN 91.9 FM Crystal River, and on WSOR 90.9 FM Naples, Florida, down in the Fort Myers area. 104.7 Channel 284 is another one of the highest rated stations in Tampa Bay, and that's WRBQ-FM Tampa. Tampa Bay's Q105. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Classic Hits. And on HD2 is Podcast Radio US. This is the simulcast of WJBR AM 1010 featuring podcasts. Sorry about that. WRBQ FM signed on the air in June of 1954 as WPKM. It would become WEZX in 1972 and WRBQ FM a year later in 1973. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 9721 Executive Center Drive North, number 200 in St. Petersburg. The transmitter is in Tampa, off US 19 and 17th Avenue South. Tampa Bay's Q105 is owned by Beasley Broadcast Group and licensed by Beasley Media Group Licenses, LLC. Okay, we are on the final page. We have 6 stations left. 105.5 Channel 288, broadcasting in high definition, is WDUV Newport Richey. 105.5 The Dove, Tampa Bay's light favorites. On the main FM analog signal and HD1 is soft adult contemporary and Christmas music during the holiday season, with no additional subchannels. Affiliations are with Premier Networks. WDUV first signed on the air as WBRD-FM in Bradenton, Florida at 103.3 in November of 1963. And officially on 105.5 as WGUL-FM in 1969. They would undergo 4 call sign changes with 3 sets of call letters and became WDUV in 1999. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 33,000 watts. Studios are located at 1300 4th Street North number 300 in St. Petersburg. The transmitter is in the 1400 block of Atlantis Drive behind the 98 Rock Tower in Holiday, Florida. 105.5 The Dove is owned by Cox Media Group and licensed by Cox Radio LLC. 105.9 Channel 290 is WTZB Inglewood, broadcasting in high definition, known as Z105. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Mainstream Rock. And on HD2 is Oldies, dubbed as the Vinyl Experience. WTZB signed on the air as WYNF in 1999 and became WSRQ in 2002 and WTZB the very next year in 2003. They did use WEDD and WLTF during the station's construction permit. Neither call sign was used on the air. They have a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 25,000 watts. Studios are located at 1680 Fruitville Road, Suite 401 in Sarasota, with transmitter located off of North Auburn Road in Venice. Z105 WTBZ, or WTZB, is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses LLC. Programming is relayed on, programming is simulcast on WBTP 106.5 FM HD3 Sarasota and translator station W286CQ 105.1 FM in Sarasota relays the classic hip-hop format from WBTP HD3. 106.3 Channel 292 is WGHR Spring Hill, known as Hits 106, featuring a classic hits format, affiliated with Westwood One's Good Time Oldies Network and Premier Networks. WGHR signed on the air on October 31st of 1989 as WEOA, originally at 97.1. The station would undergo 4 call sign changes with 4 sets of call letters and became WGHR in 2014. The station would move from 97.1 to 106.3 in 1998. They have a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 25,000 watts. Studios are located at 13825 US 19, Suite 400 in Hudson, Florida, while the transmitter is off of Cortez Boulevard or Florida State Route 50 in Spring Hill. WGHR is owned by WGUL FM Incorporated. Up next is 106.5 Channel 293, broadcasting in high definition, and that's WBTP Sarasota, 106.5 and 102.9 The Beat. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Classic Hip Hop. On HD2 is Classic Country. This is the simulcast of WCTQ 92.1. And on HD3 is Mainstream Rock. This is the simulcast of WTZB 105.9, and that's the station we had just finished talking about moments ago. WBTP has affiliations with Premier Networks. The station signed on the air as WSPB-FM on June 30th, 1965, and they had an identity crisis as well, undergoing 6 call sign changes with 6 sets of call letters, and became WBTP in 2024. The station moved from Clearwater's 95.7 to Sarasota's 106.5 and amended its format from mainstream urban to classic hip hop on July 17th, 2024, and then switch call letters with WRUB on July 29th. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 13,000 watts. Studios are located at 13577 Feather Sound Drive number 6 in Clearwater. The transmitter is off of 33rd Street West in Palmetto, Florida. WBTP, or the new 106.5 and 102.9 The Beat, is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses, LLC. Programming is simulcast on WFUS 103.5 HD2 in Gulfport. Sorry for the long pause there. Translator station W276CR 103.1 FM Bradenton relays the classic country format on HD2, while translator station W286CQ 105.1 FM Sarasota relays the mainstream rock on HD3. Next up, 107.3 channel 297, broadcasting in high definition, and that's WXGL St. Petersburg. 107.3 The Eagle, Tampa Bay's greatest hits. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is classic hits with a classic rock lean, kind of like 97.1 The River in Atlanta. On HD2 is the Hot Talk simulcast of 102.5 The Bone WHPT featuring Tampa Bay Lightning hockey. The station signed on the air on September 1st, 1965 as WPIN FM. They would undergo 4 call sign changes with 4 sets of call letters and became WXGL in 2004. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 1300 4th Street North number 300 in St. Petersburg, with transmitter off of Burbank Road in Oldsmar, Florida. WXGL, or 107.3 The Eagle, is owned by Cox Media Group and licensed by Cox Radio, LLC. The final station we'll look at is 107.9 channel 300, and that's WSRZ-FM, Coral Cove, broadcasting in high definition. They're known as 107.9 WSRZ. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Classic Hits. On HD2 is the Hot Adult Contemporary simulcast of WSDV, or 103.9 KISS FM. The station signed on the air as WSPB-FM on June 30th, 1965 at 106.3 FM in Sarasota. The station would undergo 4 call sign changes with 4 sets of call letters and became WSRZ-FM in 1999. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 47,000 watts. Studios are located at 1680 Fruitville Road, Suite 401 in Sarasota. Their transmitter is on North to Miami Trail at FL 681 in Nokomis, Florida. 107.9 WSRZ is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses, LLC. And there is the May 2025 reissue of the FM radio stations in Tampa Bay, as well as Sarasota and Lakeland. I am headed back into info gathering now, as we will reissue both the Los Angeles and San Francisco Bay Area radio markets, as well as some newer markets, including San Diego, Sacramento, and Bakersfield, among others. So stay tuned for all of that. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and happy listening. Peace out.